y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and on this episode we're going to review WWE's Super Show-Down from Melbourne, Australia. Let's jump right into it. First up for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, we have the New Day represented by Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods versus The Bar. I thought this was a good match. I thought it was a good way to open the show. I kind of feel like the New Day settled into that pre-show / opening match, make the crowd hype for the rest of the show spot, which really isn't a bad spot to have, but you kind of, as a wrestler, I would think you would want more. They always do a pretty good job of getting you hyped up and excited for what's coming. I thought this was a good match. I kind of thought The Bar was going to win. I thought there would be a few more title changes, which we're going to talk about as we go on, than there actually was in the show. And so I thought this might be one of them. New Day retains the titles. They pick up the win. I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5, 5 being the best. I thought, like I said, I thought it was a really good opener. I thought it got the crowd ready, got them excited for what was next to come and what came going through the show. Next up, we have for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Becky Lynch defending against Charlotte Flair. I really, really enjoyed this match. I thought it was really good until the end. When we got to the last part of the match, I feel like a lot of the good got negatively affected by the finish. And if, spoilers, this is a review, so I hope you're not being spoiled by any of this. We got to the end, which saw Becky Lynch hit Charlotte Flair with the belt while in the figure 8 to get out of it, which would be a heel move. Now, the reason I don't like this is they keep trying to push Becky into that heel role, but the fans aren't responding to her as a heel. They're still cheering her. They still cheered this. They need to turn the tide and go with either Charlotte being a heel or have this as a face versus face feud if they want to continue forward. I really don't think that them going against the grain here, going against what the fans want, I don't think it's going to help out their overall product. Because the fans are eventually going to get tired of them trying to push Becky as a heel. And, I don't know. It is what it is. Charlotte picked up the win by disqualification, which makes me believe that they're going to continue the feud at least to Evolution. I'm going to give this match a 3. If they wouldn't have had the finish, I probably would have given it a 4, maybe even a 5, but the finish took a lot from it to me personally. Next up, we have Bobby Lashley and John Cena versus Elias and Kevin Owens. I think I liked this match. I thought it was good. John Cena's hair was really kind of off-putting, a little bit weird when you're used to him having the Marine cut and he comes in with the dad next door cut. It's kind of weird. I thought it was a good match. I thought it was solid. I thought maybe it could have went a little bit longer, fleshed it out a bit more. John Cena looks like he's lost some weight, slimmed down a bit. And we see him debut a 6th move of doom, as even Michael Cole said. And he hits basically a chop to the neck on Elias, which is his new finisher. I gotta believe that at this point he's trolling us, that he's doing stuff like this because he knows what's said about him. And I believe he's doing it just basically for us to rail on it. Cena and Lashley picked up the win. I like this match. I actually kind of like the move. It kind of reminds me of something, it gives him an easier move as a finisher, something that's easier on his body. Not that the FU or attitude adjustment, as he calls it now, is a hard move or particularly draining, but he does have to lift a guy up. So if he's going to wrestle someone like a Brock Lesnar or Braun Strowman later on, the chop to the neck would be a suitable alternative move, at least as far as a finisher. The move itself, I don't know the veracity of it, or I don't know. It is what it is. I like this match. I thought it was good. I'm going to give it 3. I thought, again, another good match to start off. We've got 3 in a row that I think are, pretty solid starters. Next up, we have Asuka and Naomi versus the Iconics. I was a little bit surprised that they let the Iconics go with the, basically being the faces here. And they didn't, when they were talking on the microphone, I kind of expected them to say that they want to say they're happy for being back in their home country, but they can't, but like a heel would do. But they didn't. They totally played it straight up like they loved to be there, that they were kind of the faces. I guess WWE realized that the 2 Australian women are not going to get booed in Australia. Maybe they're kind of doing a Hart Foundation thing like they did when the Hart Foundation would be faces in Canada but heels everywhere else. The match itself was a bit underwhelming. It was probably one of the two matches I really didn't get into on the show. I like the outcome of Iconics winning. I think you need to build this team up. I think you could build them to be basically your top heel women's stable. And with all that, I think the match faltered a little bit. I think it felt like just something you could see on any SmackDown any week that you tune in. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. The match wasn't great. I like the Iconics winning. I like that they stayed with that. But the match itself, I didn't think was really that good. Now next up, we have AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe in a no count-out, no disqualification match. I really enjoyed this match, and I really liked what they did. I don't think that AJ and Joe could have a terrible match. I think they work well with each other. I did kind of feel like this was filler, much like the Becky Lynch and Charlotte match, where, okay, we have to have it here on this card, but it's not going to be the ender of the feud, where the stipulations go with it being a feud ender. So I know it's being a little nitpicky, but when you got guys of this caliber, you can be nitpicky on what you expect. I thought it was well. I thought they did really well. I thought when Joe's knee got hurt and AJ continued to go after it, I thought it added a little nuance, made AJ a little bit more aggressive, and I liked that side of him. And I like that added into this feud, not being that, Joe is a total heel and AJ is a straight up face. It feels more personal that he would want to still hurt Samoa Joe after everything that Samoa Joe's done with his family. AJ picks up the win. I'm going to give the match a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. Probably one of my favorite matches of the card. Now next up, we have a 6-woman tag team match. We have Nikki and Brie Bella and Ronda Rousey versus a Riott squad of Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and Sarah Logan. To me, this match felt like a regression back to the Divas era of wrestling. And I don't want to dump on the Bella twins. I don't want to pile on the negativity that's already been with them, because it's not just them in the match. When Ronda was in there with the girls from the Riott Squad, it also still felt that way. It kind of felt like this was booked like a women's match would have been 5 years ago. It didn't feel special. It didn't feel important. It felt like just card filler. And I feel like Ronda is regressing a bit. I feel like the first couple matches that she had, they were really good. She's come back down the ladder a little bit. Maybe it was her opponents more carrying her. Maybe she's being asked to do too much too soon. But I don't know. I also expected there was a tiny bit of foreshadowing, because we've heard rumors that Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella are going to wrestle at the Evolution pay-per-view. But we had a little foreshadowing in the beginning, but not much during the match. So there was that. Ronda picks up the win when she puts both Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan in an armbar, which I thought was a cool little spot. So the face team of the Bellas and Ronda Rousey win. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. I like the end spot. I like a couple little things. But overall, like I said, it just felt like a Divas era match and not a Women's Revolution and Forward match to me. Now next up, we have for the Cruiserweight Championship, and probably the most prominent position on a card that the Cruiserweight Championship's ever been in. Cedric Alexander versus Buddy Murphy. I love this match. I thought it was really good. I like Cedric Alexander a lot. I like Buddy Murphy a lot. To me, they should be having these kind of matches on pay-per-views and showing what the 205 Live crew can do. There's a lot of really good wrestlers in 205 Live, and I kind of feel like it's a little bit of an overlooked show. Usually watching it, it's one of the better, that and NXT are two of the better in-ring shows that WWE produces. And I think it's a really good show, and I like that they gave them this high of a profile match. I really enjoyed it. I think this was a good spot for the title to change. Buddy Murphy picking up the win in Australia, being an Australian wrestler, gave it a little bit more prominence. I give this match a 4 out of 5. I rather enjoyed it. I highly recommend going back and watching this. If you're not familiar with 205 Live or either of these two guys, if it's not a show you watch, this is some of the action that you can see on that show. And I thought, again, that this was really good, and I really, really felt like a championship match should feel. It kind of reminded me, and they even said it on commentary, of the WCW Cruiserweight division, when the WCW Cruiserweight division would get a chance on pay-per-view and they would blow everything out of the water. This is kind of what these two guys did. So again, I give it a 4 out of 5. Now next up we have the Shield, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins versus Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre. I thought this was a fun match. I thought this was really good. To me, the matchup itself felt like it's more of a Raw main event than a pay-per-view show event. However, the way they wrestled it made it feel important. The turns, the Will Dean Ambrose turn on the Shield, the teasing of that, the whole thing going back and forth. Braun Strowman destroying people, them trying to destroy Braun. I thought this was a really good match. I thought it was really well worked. I enjoyed every bit about it. This oversold my expectations. I thought it was really good. The Shield picked up the win on it. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I rather enjoyed this match. Again, we got 2 great matches in a row, so we're on a real roll here, and the show's really starting to take where it feels important. I kind of wish that this was the SummerSlam show, because this, to me, is light years above what the SummerSlam show was, and we haven't even gotten into our last 2 matches yet. Which, going to that, our next match was Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. The winner gets to be the number 1 contender for the SmackDown Championship. I didn't like the placing of this because the SmackDown Championship match should take more prominence than the number 1 contender match. Again, a little bit nitpicky. There are some things I liked about this. I thought it was a good, solid match. I think the brevity of it, maybe there were some time constraints that they were running up against. But it ended up being about a 5-6 minute match, maybe 7 minutes. if I'm stretching, I didn't time it, but I'm just going by watching it. It was a shorter match, and I understand why they did it, because Daniel Bryan got the surprise pin to win there, but I wanted to see more. And maybe that's why they did it. Maybe they did it to leave us wanting to see more of this feud, because they plan on continuing it. I enjoyed it. Daniel Bryan gets the #1 contender. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was a good match. I wanted more. Could have been double the length, and I think it would have been probably a 4 or 5. To me, though, it was still a really good match. Now, last but not least, we have Triple H versus The Undertaker. Triple H with Shawn Michaels in his corner, and The Undertaker with his brother Kane in his corner. And we find out that it's now a no disqualification match. As much as I don't think matches like this help the WWE, I think continually leaning on legend matches like this one hurts the overall product. It hurts the development of the wrestlers that are in their prime now. Case in point, this is a main event in the show over The Shield, over AJ versus Samoa Joe at a world title match, over John Cena and Bobby Lashley tagging up. So part of me really doesn't like that. However, separating that part out, this match was everything you would want. I mean, you got two of the greats of all time wrestling, accompanied by two more of the greats of all time outside of the ring, who heavily get involved in the match. So it felt more like a tag team match than a one-on-one event. And I think that added some to it, because we've seen in recent vintage The Undertaker having long rest periods during his more recent matches. And both of these guys are a little bit older in age, and of course both Shawn Michaels and Kane are as well. So to have that option to interject those other two in a long format match like this was, to have them get in there and get involved and help keep the action going, I think helped the show. It helped the match. I really enjoyed this. Unashamedly, I took off the critic side of me and I put the fan side in, and this was awesome. It's always awesome to see The Undertaker. It's always awesome to see Triple H wrestle. These two guys, they bring it, they get it, they give you what you want. I really love this match. Triple H picks up the win, which was a surprise to me. I didn't think that would be the outcome, but it was. I give the match a 5 out of 5. I thought it was fantastic. Overall, though, I do think them leaning on this crutch, which they do a little bit more heavily, when you add in the fact that they lean on the crutch of guys that aren't there on a permanent basis, like John Cena, like Brock Lesnar, I think it hurts the development of the guys that are on the roster currently. That being said, the fan in me wants to see this match. It's kind of a weird balance that it plays inside of me, because I don't think this kind of match helps the rest of the roster, but as a fan, I love the match. So, really weird how I have to juggle those feelings. Overall, I thought this was a great show. Like I said, I think this was a better show than SummerSlam. And I rather enjoyed, for the most part, most of the show. A couple of the matches, ironically, two of the three women's matches, the Bellas and Ronda Rousey versus the Riott Squad, and Asuka and Naomi versus the Iconics, didn't quite get there for me, didn't do anything special for me. But other than that, I thought all the rest of the matches were good or excellent. And I thought it was a really fun show. It really felt special. And that's what I look for in these pay-per-views and these special shows. Overall, I'm going to give the show a 4 out of 5. I thought it was really, really good. It was really fun all the way through. I wish this would have been SummerSlam to me, because then it would have had more prominence in that show instead of this. But still, they gave us a great show. One other pet peeve I really have is I have the WWE app on my phone, and when I woke up this morning, because I didn't wake up in the East Coast of America, the live show came on at 4 a.m. I slept in. I slept to about 8:30 in the morning this morning. I wasn't going to wake up at 8 a.m. just to watch this show. Or I'm sorry, wake up at 4 a.m. just to watch this. I planned on waking up, doing my, normal wake up, and then going and sitting down and watching the show. Well, as most people do, I picked up my phone, looked at my phone. Of course, everything happened to that point. WWE sent me an alert on it, and luckily, I seen, the first couple, and I went, okay, this is what it is. I'm going to clear out my alerts and go forward. I don't understand why the WWE does that. They do that during Raw, they do it during SmackDown, they do it during other pay-per-views. Most of the time it doesn't bother me because I'm watching it live, but I can see now where this would bother you if you were somewhere that doesn't watch the show live. If I would have DVR'd it, or someone that watches on Hulu, or is in a different country than the show's originating from. Therefore, a lot of people aren't going to wake up at 4 in the morning. I know a lot of people are crazy and do that, and I do that. I've done it before. I do it for New Japan shows I watch about 50% of the time. But to me, why would they do that? First off, why are you giving the results away? Why, when you know there's going to be people watching on delay, would you give them away? Why would you alert people? Sure, put them on your website. That's fine. I can avoid going to your website. Most people don't avoid picking up their phone and saying, okay, I got 7 messages on Facebook. I got 2 likes on Twitter. I got 5 snaps on my Snapchat ad. And I got 4 emails. So I want to look through my alerts to see what they all are. Most people do that. Or, look and see what time it is, because maybe they have something they need to do. Either way, I think it's something dumb that the WWE does. I wish they would stop doing that. But I digress. It did not affect my enjoyment of the show, so I guess I'm just an old man shaking a fist at a cloud at this point. But with all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been an episode of Heel Heat.